Welcome back. You're now watching the lifestyle segment of the weekend show. Our topic today is internet security. The internet is one of the fastest growing areas of technical infrastructure and development. Over the past decade, the growth of the internet and its use has afforded almost everyone the opportunity to be extra curious and get detailed answers to millions of questions every single day. Internet security is the process of creating rules and actions as protective measures against attacks over the internet. Joining us to have this discussion today, we have
with us communications and media strategist Chioma Chuka. She's also the founder of Tech Hub. Welcome to the Weekend Show.
Thank you.
We also have with us a lawyer, head of news media for the People's Democratic Party, publisher of Breaking Times, Barrister Anthony Ehilebo.
Hi, it's great
Welcome
to be here.
To the Weekend Show.
Once again, congratulations on your 1 year anniversary.
Thank you very much. We also have with us in the studio cybersecurity experts, Somalia Atsen Bako, to discuss with us about internet security. Welcome to the Weekend Show.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, lady, welcome to the program. So I watched a documentary on Netflix, I think a few weeks ago, called The Great Hack, and it was talking about how our data was collated from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the social media platforms to help a particular company profit off of that data. So they used our data on social media to create strategic messages that would help advance the campaign of a particular candidate in America. And there was a hashtag trending, data rights are human rights, basically saying that giving us control of our own data and the information that we put on these social media platforms are basic human rights. Anthony, do you agree with that?
Well, in a manner of speaking, yes, we're entitled to our rights. Fundamental rights, that is. And then that also should include the right of someone to profit off your activities, right? When you think about it, in 2015, there was the protest then, No to Social Media bill. And one of the arguments we propounded at the time was that we would expect our National Assembly to be more circumspect as to more grievous issues that the people would take more seriously, such as the data that telephone companies, subscription companies, companies that you buy stuff off, Amazon, all those companies, what do they do with the data they get from your activities? I mean, it's crazy. And then you also have to look at social media platforms, what they do with the data they get. Facebook, what does Facebook do? And it's as if we sign off those rights unknowingly. I mean, there's very little education as to those, they call them fine print in if you were getting hardware. But online, you just see something, you have to click on it to go forward. And you're in such a hurry to go forward that you don't even bother reading, that it allows that company to use information it has gathered of you. In fact, some of them are so invasive. Someone told me, I don't know how true that is, that when you have Alexa, the Alexa little cube, that it listens to every conversation you're having in the room. And then it sends that conversation to Google's or Amazon's database, which is one of the biggest in the world, because in fact they host data for companies like Netflix. So they gather all that intel, and there's no telling, because you've signed off. You've primarily agreed. But here's where we think that the National Assembly, because they're in-country rules, in-country laws, and then government, as a matter of policy, we think should take more interest. Well, they're preoccupied with so many other things right now, but I really think that they should take more interest as to the violation of the rights of their citizens, because we now have so many more people who are online, who are going digital, who are trading more online, doing a lot more e-commerce stuff online. So we need to protect those rights. And when you talk about internet security, you have to take it as serious as you take physical security, because it does affect your life in a social way, in an economic way, in a manner that can even affect your perception, your quality of life. All these things are interconnected. So you can say, yes, we need to have government become more serious take it more seriously. But you want to juxtapose this against the kind of ministers of information and technology and science and technology.
You know, while I agree with you that government plays a role, Anthony, Andy and I were just having a discussion before the show officially started, and he was talking about, he had tweeted at, was it 9 Mobile or ABDC, and he had said to them that, oh, my power is not working, and my phone, he tweeted at 9 Mobile, my phone line, and they said, send me your phone number on Twitter, where millions of people can see, or send me your house address. So these companies are asking for personal details as well. So aside the government regulation, Chioma, what do we as citizens need to know to protect ourselves when it comes to the cyberspace?
So I think the first thing is people should realize that online security is just as important as your physical security, right? So you're not leaving your house and then you leave your doors open and you're like, no, it's fine, my neighbors will watch over it. And I think that's the attitude with we come to internet or online security with. So I think one of the first things is, things as simple as passwords, right? A lot of people have passwords that are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I mean, I had a MiFi password that was that for a number of years, right? It's also things like, what's the name of your, what do you call your internet device, right? I remember being in a few places, and I think one time it was a Modura who tweeted, I know Chuka is here because I've seen her Wi-Fi, and I mean, we had a laugh, but I thought about it later. If somebody was looking for me, I don't know why anybody would be looking for me, so please don't. But let's say someone was looking for me, and you came to an event and you weren't sure that I was there. The Wi-Fi list is another way to find people, and so maybe that's another thing that people need to think about. But then you also need to think about, how do you give out your data? For instance, whenever banks and all of these other foolish people ask me, send me your number, first of all, you are the banker, right? I filled a KYC form. You have those details. I never pass those details over the internet. Instead, I'll ask you, give me a call. And you want to do that verification, let's have that verification over a call, because they typically have like a number of questions they ask you to verify you're actually the account owner, right? So don't give out your information over the internet. I've seen people, for instance, tweet their email address, and then you just find out that you've opened the door to spam and phishing attacks and malware and everything, because it's literally like leaving your door open. I think another thing I'll say is, sometimes our children are windows and loopholes, right, for everything that's insecure. A lot more children are going online a lot younger. I've had occasion to teach children how to be safe online, and it's astounding the amount of laxity parents approach internet security with. I remember talking to kids who were 10 and 11 in one of the upper scale schools in Abuja, and talking to them, and I remember asking, what are the internet rules in your house? And from mommy said not to finish it, mommy said not to share, mommy said to make sure to share, mommy said to be asleep by 9. There was nothing about the sites they were going on, nothing. For instance, there's things like Dora the Explorer. A lot of us don't know, but there's an adult version of Dora the Explorer on YouTube. And where do kids watch Dora the Explorer? On YouTube. There's an adult version that has, sexual innuendos, that has a lot of violence, and it's on YouTube. But a lot of parents, you just give the child the device, and the device becomes the nanny. And so as long as the child is quiet in one corner with a device, you're free to do whatever it is, but you don't know what they're watching. And kids are curious, and they just click and click and click, and before you know it, I mean, we've seen cases where parents have sued people like Apple and Amazon because their kids have, okayed payments of £1,000, £2,000, etc. But even beyond that, beyond making those payments which the parents can claim back, because obviously the child is involved, what windows of attack are we opening just by being lax with our children and the way that they use the internet?
I think that's quite interesting, because also we have these conversations before the show, and we're talking about how this is now the giveaway season. And so almighty Don Jazzy comes on Twitter and says, you know what, I'm going to give 10 people 100,000 naira today. And before he says anything, people have started putting their account numbers.
It's incredible.
Account number, house address, phone number, and everything. And when we talk about information security, internet security, and cyber security, you just feel there's this brilliant hacker behind the computer that just goes tap, 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 I'm in, let's do this. But the truth of the matter is that about 85% of threats online as a result of human error. And so, Somalia, what are we doing as people to protect our information online? And what's the level of awareness about how much information is too much information to give on the internet?
Thank you, Andy. To be honest, people don't even like being told that they're sharing too much online.
Like, yeah,
So
stopping their blessings.
I mean, even yesterday, I'm always DMing someone or tweeting at them like, you shouldn't post your address, you shouldn't post your passport bio page, you shouldn't post. People even post things like BVN, I mean NIN, things that. So people don't like being told not to do that, and it's unfortunate because most of the times they're doing it for giveaways, and one of the issues with that is that many of them feel like they don't have a choice because they need money and things like that. So it's difficult to, I don't know, in terms of the awareness. You can go around doing presentations, you can go to even the markets, schools, organizations, and as soon as you're working out, they're doing the same thing again.
But let me ask you this question. If I come out, like some individual who posted his national identity card information on Twitter saying, oh, I registered in 2014, this was the slip they gave me, and this is 5 years later, they haven't given me the real card, and so his name, date of birth, everything is on it. What potential risk is this person making himself available to by putting such information out there?
So I'll mention one that is becoming more common now, the SIM swap fraud, where people do like a welcome back on your number, and because of the link of your number to your bank account, sometimes they're able to make transactions. You know? Sometimes it happens because people don't change their default PIN, which is like the last, I think, 4 digits of your card, and things like that. But I mean, there's also the risk of identity theft, so which is becoming more common too, because our pictures are on Instagram. We talk about our lives. We are on LinkedIn. We talk about someone can easily pick information from those places and create a new profile as you. So I know many people that say, oh, I'm not on social media, they are reels, and then somebody else is there as you. And they are defrauding people, getting money, doing business transactions, making friends, all as you, even committing crime. So I think with regards to that, now we need to consider, if you're not on social media, you need to be Googling yourself like every day to know where you are active.
There's another version of you.
Exactly, because it's actually how, like, I mean, we call it catfishing, where someone poses as another person, but it happens a lot. And sometimes they might be posing as another person for more malicious reasons than good reasons. So you never know who is behind a handle. So a 65-year-old person could be posing as a 23-year-old talking to young people and
so
trying
actually
to.
that happens for financial reasons, it happens for relationship reasons, a plethora of reasons out there that people do that. But there is this new trend where people send fake credit alerts. I'm sure we've all heard the stories. Apparently there was a lady who sells like Apple products, and somebody went into her store and had paid for an iPhone, and she saw the alert on her phone. But by the time she went to the bank to withdraw the money wasn't there. So how exactly does that work? How come an individual that's selling a product can get an alert on his or her phone, but it's not a real alert? You know, how do we protect ourselves from that? Any of you?
So there are 2 ways people can do bank transfers, right? You have the instant bank transfer, and then you have something called the NEFT. I forget what it means, but it's slower. That takes
it takes up another day.
Yeah, National Electronic Funds Transfer. That takes like 2 days, or it takes like at least a full working day. What a number of people, and whenever you send either of those transactions, you get the money has left the account, right? What people do is they show you that, but then you can go back and place a lien on that, right? Or you can, most times when you do that transaction, some banks I know will send you a message saying, confirm this transaction or not. And so you can just say, no, it wasn't me. And so they put a hold on your account, and the person goes to the bank, and then, they get that, that transaction wasn't completed. Other times, people actually, and again, I think if you look at your security as a big circle or as a big pie, and every time you are lax, you just leave bits of yourself outside. And it only takes, like Andy was saying, it only takes a matter of time for someone to put all those little pieces together and then have you, right? So for instance, somebody already has your phone number. Somebody already has, the account number. People are not becoming smarter, they're just piecing information together in different ways. So I've actually seen someone create an alert. I've seen someone create a bank alert, right? And you see everything, the date, the time, everything. And so I think, people need to, I don't know. I don't, to be honest.
Especially for the traders, for instance.
Yeah, especially for
how are
traders
they protected?
and people like, people who are not as educated as somebody who can say, well, this money is not here. Unfortunately, we don't have the systems that protect the end user. So for instance, somebody says, I've done a transaction, you don't get the money, you can go to your bank, you can complain, they can trace. The second problem is we don't have data on everyone. Forget that we have the whole BVN system, we have NIN, we have the phones, the phone registration and all of that. We don't have one database that allows you find a Nigerian by the books. So it becomes a lot tougher to trace people after they've been in and out. So I think for me, depending on the scale of the transaction, get details of the person.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
Anthony, I want you to dig deeper here. How does it work? Because I seriously, I'm educated, we all are, but we still need to understand how I'm a trader and I'm selling a product and I get an alert on my phone saying that this is coming from my bank. How does that work?
I think she's given like two instances of how it can be done. And I think this also appears to be something that we have to have an advocacy for. We on our own. I mean, let's leave the government out of it. There are parts that will come to them. But on our own part, as Nigerians, we've always provided, everything for ourselves, our own infrastructure, our own power. So right now, we must provide our own advocacies and our own information portals for people to understand what's going on. The third way people do the credit alert thing is you're also not conscious that when the alert comes in, that it is from your bank. So they can, for instance, you can actually, it's very impossible to trace an alert coming from maybe, all these SMS alerts. So what they do is they send an SMS alert that looks like it's from your bank. And the person that's buying the stuff already knows how much he wants to take you for. So he sends that alert. But if you're careful enough, you will notice that it's not from your bank because it will almost not, you will have to take them knowing your bank balance. For them to do that to you. So it's often, you find out the more successful scams like that are often people who are lax, not in a hurry and not too diligent.
So there's no way they can hack into your bank?
No. Our banking system is so secure, to an extent. But the more danger I see about this is confidence. You should be able to walk into a shop and if you can't pay with your card, do a transfer to the store owner. It's one of the methods of payment. So what I see and the bigger danger here is that it kills a level of exchange, commerce exchange, because of trust. Because for you to be able to do that sort of business, people must have confidence that they're not going to lose their money. So you find people are no longer, maybe you want to buy an item, and the store owner is losing on sales. The person that's supposed to purchase is losing on the value he's supposed to get from the purchase. But he has the money in his account. Possibly the POS system is not working, and transfers are more secure for him. So we have to consider that, and these things are in little bits, but it all adds up. It all adds up to a daily transaction. It adds up to what the GDP of the country at the end of the month in terms of the amount of trade or volume of trade that goes on in the country. So when you talk about internet security, you have to look at the deeper implications to our entire social cycle and economic cycle.
Anthony, but even besides this, you work with the media also, and we've seen cases where beyond the financial implications, there is the threat to life. So you see police is looking for Chioma today, and they put a post online, God forbid, and it has her house address saying XYZ person is suspected for XYZ crime, and so we are looking for this person. And so they put your whole information. Media houses take this and blog it and post it as a news story. Now, in this day and age where we're talking about kidnapping, where there's armed robbery and crime rate is at almost an all-time high, what are we saying and doing about the threat to people's lives when such information, personal information, is put out? And I would like to also hear from you, Bako, because you're a cybersecurity person. because lives are now at stake.
So, you raised the AEDC issue earlier on, and there was a part of it that I felt like, okay, so it's not just
the intention
AEDC.
is great.
No, it's not AEDC. I think it's more of the media managers, the digital media management company that they've hired to do their interaction with people. I think that we need to have some sort of industry standard. But again, e-commerce, technology, is all new. So we're still in the phase where we'll develop the kind of legal frameworks that manage these interactions. For instance, I feel like you have products, physical products that have standard organizations. There should be an organization that manages the standard of companies that manage such, because for any company that has that professional and best practice models in place, the staff would know, okay, if you, for instance, are interacting with, I think Access Bank has a beautiful model that they work with. They will tell you, let's talk in the DM. And of course, then the social media companies have a role to play by verifying authentic handles that you can engage. Although we have seen very, very rare instances where 2 or 3 other accounts are verified, linked to it. But if that company is serious about its own security for its customers, it makes sure that it is the only verified and consistently puts out the message that this is our verified through channels that you can trust. So, for instance, we expect that companies are doing public service adverts to say, these are our verified handles, you engage with them. And then these companies that manage their social media interactions or digital media interactions are also conscious of the fact that they need to be aware of the security. And then when in answering the question about what is published online in terms of information, because we now have a rising threat of kidnapping and its allure as a criminal enterprise. This has to do with the people themselves, people who use these systems to become aware that whatever they are putting out. Then the publishing companies, they have a standard of practice. I'm sure that these things will be developed as we go on, but it is becoming imperative that we begin to sensitize even publishers of online materials and the traditional media who now have online platforms, that you need to be conscious of the fact that you're putting out people's information when you're doing that. And also goes to our security services, that they need to be conscious that the amount of information you put out about people also endangers them, that they are not yet, possibly if you're trying to arrest somebody, he's still an alleged criminal. You haven't tried him. You're not supposed to, but sometimes it becomes, there's expediency for that.
And even if you're trying him, look at what happened with the immigration recently, with the young man in London who destroyed, some property. And then they put his passport details out, right? So his name, his bio page, with everything, And I think that one way that we can start to counter things like this is that people need to sue, right? We have the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, which has been embraced by the West, but obviously, slower around these parts. But people need to sue, right? You can't put my biodata page out there. We've seen that Nigeria is a country, and to be fair, most of Africa, you have a lot of extremists who, for the belief of a cause, will do certain things. And then you say somebody has committed a crime or somebody has offended one government or the other, and you put his bio page out, you're opening that person to harm.
It's definitely,
and so people need to start suing. You need to, and I think that a society only becomes stronger when we test certain things in court. Somebody needs to go to the court and say, these people put my details out and it has cost me this psychological harm.
But we don't have the laws to back that up now.
Oh, we do.
Technically,
let's
the
give
GDPR
Samaila a chance to. Let's give Samaila a chance to wrap this up because we've run out of time. So, summarize our entire conversation today, please, if you can. So, for the people who are watching, how can I better protect myself? I've obviously been made aware that data protection also takes a certain level of consciousness. It can't happen to just everybody because there's a certain level of exposure, number one, and consciousness you have to use to protect yourself. So talk to us, what can our viewers deduce from this conversation that we've had today? What are some measures that they can take to better protect themselves in the online space? And also for those who are transacting business every single day, with the advent of transfers and e-banking and all of that, what can they do to protect themselves?
So first of all, they need to be aware that everyone is a target. So you can't just say because I don't earn certain amount of money or because I'm not a big man or something, I'm not a target. Because the thing is that as we say in our field, data is the new oil. So, and from the Cambridge Analytica case, you can see that data is really the new oil because you can see what they could do with just data. So first of all, users need to be aware that their data is valuable, regardless of how tiny you think it is. Also, we need to put more effort into cybersecurity awareness in the whole country, because it starts from there. People need to first of all know that this data is theirs. This are the potential threats out there, so they can take steps to protect themselves. And one of the things you can do, I mean, we say our passwords are the first line of defense. So on your online accounts, whether it's banking, social media, email, and the rest, you need to have like a good password, and you have to treat it like a toothbrush. So yeah, so you get a good one, like good quality toothbrush, obviously, and then you don't share it, right? And you change it regularly, because ideally you should change it like every 3 months. That's
a good analogy.
Exactly. So treat it as a toothbrush.
Well,
right?
for those who actually change their toothbrush that often and don't check.
That's a good reminder also, change your toothbrushes.
Yeah, so that's something you can do.
Yeah.
And more recently, there have been efforts by many of these platforms to create what we call two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
So it's a scenario where you can use what we call, I don't say two-factor again, but yeah, 2 different factors. So there's we say something you have, right? Something you are, and then something you know. So something you know is typically your password, right? Something you have might be a token, like the banks have shared now in Nigeria. And then something you are could be biometric, so like your fingerprint, iris, scan, and the rest. So some of these platforms allow you to use like 2 of these factors, making it harder for someone who has gotten your password to maybe transact on your account and things like that. Something else I'll talk about is just our sharing habits. We just need to know not everything is meant for the public eye. The internet never forgets, right? So even if you delete something, it's on a backup of the backup of the backup server in like 4 countries and things like that. So I think
that wraps us up. Thank you so much, Sumaila, Anthony, Chioma, for coming on today's program. There's still so much to discuss on this topic. We'll definitely be discussing this at a later time. But for now, don't forget to follow us on social media at Weekend Show NG on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, social media trends. Don't go anywhere.